spoil sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Well, what a weekend we have in store. It's Irish Champions Festival time, and this is On The Wire, brought to you proudly in association with our new partners in Boyle Sports. Delighted to have you with us. And over the next little while, we'll be running through what should be a top-class weekend of racing with a top-class panel to boot. So let's get into it. Here we go. Irish Champions Festival 2024. And as I just mentioned, On The Wire is proudly brought to you by Boyle Sports, our new partners this time around. And we'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe wherever you're tuning in today. It does help us, and it makes sure you'll never miss an episode of On The Wire in the future. And to get you started as well, we're told there is a new offer here for Boyle Sports. You get €70 in bonuses when you bet €10. Simply scan the QR code on screen now, or you'll find the link in the description on YouTube. Well, joining me now, I'm really delighted to say we have an excellent panel to go through all the Group 1 action over the coming days. Really looking forward to it. And on my right-hand side here, we've got Johnny Ward of Racing TV and many other hats. He's wearing his own hat for today as well. We've got Melissa Jones, one of the best judges in the game, representing the Express and the Irish Mare, and our very own Donn McClean, another man of many hats, but you'll see him on Racing TV, the Irish Field, and so on. And my name is Mark Boylan from the Irish Field. And lots to get stuck into it. I might just throw it over to you first, Melissa, because Irish Champions Festival might be the title, but all through this season, it's felt like British horses have just dominated. You've won the 2 Guineas, you've won the Oaks, you've won the Pretty Polly, you had the 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the Derby. It just feels like you're rampaging us when you come over here. Could this be British Champions Festival this weekend with another favourite in the Irish Champion and the Flying Five?
Well, fingers crossed. My hopes are high that economics can add to the great tally that we've built up over the season. But no, hasn't it been a great one so far? And some great Group 1s and Group 2s to look forward to this weekend at Leopardstown and the Curragh. We're still going at a great pace here, aren't we? Looking ahead to the great action, exciting times ahead. And yeah, fingers crossed it lives up to its star billing.
Very good. Johnny, you're talking about that billing. We don't have the top horse around at the minute in Ireland coming this weekend in City of Troy. Very unusual, actually, that you have a champion of Coolmore's that hasn't been seen in Ireland since he made his debut here back, July 2023. Does that take away from the weekend at all, or how you felt, I suppose, about how the build-up has been? Because maybe these national hunt meetings tend to maybe get a bit more mainstream coverage, but a little bit quiet in the build-up, or am I being harsh?
No, you're not. You're not harsh. And like, let's be frank, this is miles better than anything we've to offer on the jump scene at the moment. You know, Cheltenham for me, it was a Cheltenham that asked a lot of questions this year, whereas the flat has been really fantastic. And I know City of Troy is not here, but to be honest, Mark, I'd much prefer to see him running the Classic and see him go down that route, and what that'll mean. That'll be one of the best days of racing in my lifetime. When you think of just the crack of going from Down Royal all into like a well-fancied horse in the Classic, you don't get days like that. This is my favourite. The Champion Stakes is my favourite flat race, full stop. A mile and 2 around Leopardstown. I can't wait to go. I can only go on Sunday now this week, but I can't wait to go. It's a fantastic concept. Really looking forward to it.
We'll stay travelling as best we can into our big one. We'll start off where the main event, my favourite race of the season in Ireland too, Johnny. I love it. The Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes, 3:25 on Saturday. And albeit there's no City of Troy, we do have a really compelling race, and economics is your favourite. Augusta Dan banging there as well. But Aidan, he's loading the bases too. We've got Los Angeles here. We've got Hans Andersen as a pace angle in the race too. And Luxembourg, another former winner. I'll throw it over to you, Don, first. Economics, short price in some places for a horse that's never won a Group 1, never even appeared in a Group 1. Does that lack of experience at the top table, would it put you off at all, or how do you assess it?
No, that wouldn't put me off. His price would a wee bit, Mark. I think he's very short for what he's done. But look, this is the Dante at York. He was so good here. He came there from a long way back in the field. You can see him coming on the outside, big white face, and he's just pulverized him. And look, William Haggis is such a clever trainer, such a patient trainer. He resisted the urge to go for the Derby. I think he had taken him out of the Derby before the Dante, hadn't he? And then there was the option to supplement him, and there was all that supplement talk, but it never happened. And you can see here the magnitude of his superiority over his rivals in the Dante. If he'd gone to the Derby, he obviously would have been one of the big players, and that would have been a hell of a race, obviously, as things turned out. You can understand why he's favourite, but for me, August Rodin he's a massive player in the race. He'd have been trained primarily for this race from a fair way out. He won the race last year.
A bit of value, maybe, Augusta Rodin. Johnny, like a 6-time Group 1 winner, Augusta Rodin. Yeah, he just seems to be a horse that people like to talk about with contempt nearly. He does divide opinion, but Aidan O'Brien going for 6 in a row, and there is champion Ryan Moore going for 5 in the last 6. should we play it simple? Is that the way to approach it, or do you have trust issues with this horse too?
Yeah, I suppose you'll always have the odd trust issue with him, because he still is prone to maybe disappoint. But obviously, as you say, Mark, I certainly wouldn't mind owning him. He's a very, very good horse in his day. I was on to Aidan O'Brien, was it 2 mornings ago, in relation to what I thought, what I was hoping he'd run in the race, and he did say Auguste Rodin and Luxembourg would likely run, as well as Los Angeles, which, to be honest, I didn't expect all 3 of them to run. And you've the last 2 winners of the race, and you have an Irish Derby winner. So from Coolmore/Ballydoyle alone, this is a really, really strong connections, all run in the same colours as well. So it's adding a lot to the race, and for me it's vital in this race that it has 8 runners. Like if this race had only the 7 runners, and I'm not even sure if it's a World Pool race, but as a betting concept, it's far more interesting with 8 runners. I really like Group 1s to have a good field, so it's added to the race. But I do feel Auguste Rodin, even last year's form, I'm not sure that'd be good enough, and I'm kind of with Donn on economics being too short. Like I thought it was crazy they didn't run him in the Derby. Like it's kind of like British. I'm going to mention Cheltenham again, but British trainers run away from Cheltenham. Cheltenham is the holy grail, and the Derby is the holy grail for flat horses as 3-year-olds in Britain. And the way he won the Dante was like, you got to run him in the race. They didn't though, and he's returned, and he looks very, very good and very sharp. But I really like the case made by Shin Emperor here. This for me is absolutely fascinating. He's a brother to Sotsas, who's beaten 2 lengths in this race, I think, by Magical, and then went on to win the Arc. Full brother. He's now actually standing at Coolmore. I don't know where this horse is going to go after his career. At the moment, his credentials as a stallion wouldn't be, they wouldn't be remarkable. But he's come over to France to basically try to emulate his brother, who ran in this race and then won the Arc. He's a fascinating runner from stall 3, and his trainer is actually very adept at getting good winners globally as well. Really interesting runner and a compelling renewal of the race because he's there.
Johnny, that's savage enthusiasm for a race like that. Looking forward to it. Bring it on. Melissa, looking at this, we were talking about the Ballydoyle tactics here. You're very much going into the Lion's Den when you're a British raider coming over here, facing into a 4-strong Ballydoyle assault on an Irish Champion Stakes. We've seen down the years, Sea the Stars had to overcome an awful lot in that year when he won, and the tactics were really... they were notable, maybe we'll say. But do you think economics, is that a potential stumbling block for him? A horse with limited experience coming in here against very much tried and tested international horses in a Ballydoyle backyard?
Yes, I do think that is the main question mark about economics, to be honest. I've been very impressed with what he's done so far, and it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, William Haggis's campaigning, but I am a big fan of a fresh horse at this stage of the season. Some of us are flagging a bit ourselves, aren't we? But economics is in fine form for this weekend. And of course, they have been aiming at this race. Auguste Rodin probably deserves to be a similar sort of price to him. 11 to 10, I think economics is at the moment. So it is a bit tight. But as you say, Mark, the tactics are key to this with Aidan O'Brien having Luxembourg, Auguste Rodin. People have a bit of a sort of love-hate relationship with him, don't they? You're sort of not really sure which Auguste Rodin will turn up in the big race.
Right, well, economics, you're firmly in that camp by the sounds of it. But just to get down to brass tacks with the other 2 gents, what's the selection? Or give us a danger maybe against the favourite. I know you bought a time for economics, but you don't think he represents massive value. Where will he be going for the Irish Champion Stakes? Johnny, go to you first.
You would want a price on the Japanese horse, and I'm waffling a bit here. I don't know an awful lot about Japanese form, but the credentials for me in terms of him coming over in that run the last day are strong. But I'd be very, very happy to have a saver in Auguste Rodin. I'd be surprised if any other Ballydoyle horse won.
Don, how's your Japanese, and what's your Irish Champion Stakes selection?
My Japanese is rusty, Mark. No, Shin Emperor is a fascinating runner. I can see him running really well here. I like his drawn stall 3. To me, it's not a positive for a rider who hasn't ridden around the track. But as Johnny mentioned, the trainer Yahagi, he's a very, very good trainer. He had those 2 Breeders' Cup winners, I think, in 2021. I think they were the first 2 Japanese horses to win at the Breeders' Cup. So, and as Johnny said as well, he's our brother to Sotsas, who finished 4th in the Irish Champion Stakes. That was that Irish Champion Stakes in which Magical got a masterclass ride from Jamie Heffernan. And I can see Shin Emperor running well here. It looks like he's a better horse over 1.5 miles than he is over 10 furlongs as well. I can see him running well here and going on to the Arc, and maybe even being a wee bit unlucky in running and maybe getting into traffic from his inside draw. But I think Auguste Rodin is probably the value at current prices.
Don is keeping the faith maybe in Auguste Rodin. And before we look forward to the rest of it, we might just look back for a moment and just ask each of the panel, because it is such an iconic race down the years, just to nominate their favourite Irish Champion Stakes memory. And I might throw it over to you first, Melissa, because this horse is a horse that I know City of Troy is trying to emulate in some ways and go one step better down at the Breeders' Cup. You've gone with Giant's Causeway.
I have indeed, yes, the Iron Horse, an absolutely magnificent beast, wasn't he? Seen here in a titanic battle with Best of the Best from Godolphin, the years where I was growing up at this stage watching horse racing, and this battle sort of really captivated me, one of many throughout a great flat campaign. But yeah, Giant's Causeway, he was the first horse to win 5 consecutive Group 1s as a 3-year-old, and I think they all came in about sort of 11 weeks or something, so it's such a tight period, and he had such a remarkable constitution. He loved a battle, and as a racing fan, that's just what you want to see, isn't it? The best of the best going head to head there in Ireland.
What a horse he was. What a horse he was. Johnny, High Chaparral is one for you in a battle with Falbrav. And High Chaparral, maybe down the years, is he maybe one of the underrated Ballydoyle top performers? And you look at his CV.
This race for me, guys, is special because I was at it. It was my first Champion Stakes. Look at Darrell Holland on the inside and Falbrav. This is just a race that he would want back every day of the week. Michael Kinnan, I think, riding High Chaparral, who wasn't a superstar, but this was just when I got into racing. So this race meant so much to me. 100% Falbrav should have won. There's no filly in the race this year. That's the one disappointment. That year we had Vintage Tipple, and you had all these horses from different kind of. What I love about Champion Stakes is 3-year-olds against older horses, milers against mile and a half horses, and the boys against the girls on an ideal year. And we pretty much had everything that year. But Darrell Holland won't want to watch it again.
Yeah, geez, it's a hard watch, isn't it, if you're a supporter of him? But a hard watch as well for supporters of Galileo, Donn, the year with Fantastic Light. I know you were in the Galileo camp, but again, an unbelievable, iconic race, wasn't it?
This is one of the races of the 80s. For me, this is up there with Grundy and Bostino back in the 70s, but it was a hell of a race. Like, you had Paul Scallon, a nice dancer, looking around to see where Kinnan was. And Richard Hilton give the slip, who literally moved off the rail to allow Frankie up on his inside, and Kinnan had to go wide. But even then, you thought Galileo didn't lose, did he? You thought he was still going to go and get him. And what a battle between the two of them all the way to the line. And, it had it all.
Don's brother Ian wrote, I think, was writing the Sunday Independent, and I did a bit of research in the race. There were about 20,000 at the Champion Stakes that day, and I often quote his line, they came to crown a king at Leopardstown, but found the crown did not quite fit. And that was one of I just love the line and the old style of journalism in those days when you're writing at 20,000 at the race as well, Mark.
Yeah, different times, Johnny. Different times. I don't think I'll be able to pull a line out of my pocket like that this weekend. Top class stuff. But we'll move on to the 250 next, the other Group 1 on day 1. That's the Coolmore America Justify Matron Stakes. And Tom Marquand could be set for a big Saturday at Leopardstown. He has got Port of Fortuna here. Comes up for the ride. Ryan Moore engaged on Ylang for Aidan. Port of Fortuna, an incredible filly this season, the way she's gone forward. I spoke to Donnacha O'Brien about a month ago, and he mentioned when you have a filly as busy as she was at 2, there's no guarantee that they will train on at 3, let alone that they improve like she has. So she's just been a revelation, really. We're watching her here in the Falmouth at the July Festival in Newmarket. Just so tough, so straightforward, so genuine. And she's your favourite. She's going to be pretty short too, but there are some quality rivals in her opposition here. Fallen Angel, first start since the Irish 1,000 guineas, and she's been snapped up by Watnan Racing since we last seen her. The Giants that just seem to be getting bigger all the time in flat racing. And Ylang, aforementioned there, Ryan Moore takes up back on board with her again. And disappointing in some people's eyes in her comeback, but it seems like the bulletin from Ballydoyle last week at the press morning was relatively upbeat. And Jancis as well, that's one I'm going to throw over to the lads in just a moment. An interesting jockey book in there. She's been shorter than her stablemate Vespertilio, all through the anti-post markets, but Billy Lee is not on her. He rides Vespertilio instead. So I might just throw over to you first, Melissa. Port of Fortuna, rock solid filly. Is she the obvious answer here, or can you see a Fallen Angel bouncing back after that layoff?
Yeah, Port of Fortuna is the obvious one, isn't she? She's such a tough filly and really finds for pressure. And of course, we've got to remember that Port of Fortuna, Fallen Angel, and Ylang met in last season's Moyglare, where Fallen Angel ran out the winner, didn't she? A very impressive one at that. For a bit of a stop-start campaign for her this year, of course. As you said, she's been bought by Watnan Racing. Again, a bit like August Rodin, which Fallen Angel will turn up here. I looking at the quote from Carl Burke previously, said that she is an idle workhorse at home. And also Watnan Racing, they were saying that they're looking forward to the months and seasons ahead with her. So it will be interesting to see whether she's really sharp on this occasion, of course, for the late stage in the campaign. But as we see here, she's sprinting away from the pack. But my choice here is Ylang Ylang. I'm willing to forgive her a couple of efforts this season. Of course, she was staying on so well to great effect at Newmarket in the 1,000 guineas. And then in the Oaks, she was a very well-backed favourite, but didn't really handle the track, and very little went wrong. And I didn't think she really stays a mile and a half. Has been brought back steadily by Aidan O'Brien. Of course, she had that muscle tear, I believe, which was a big sort of setback. Port Fortuna sets the standard, but Ylang Ylang's definitely the value.
Taking on the favourite, and I think only one winning favourite in the last 8 years of the Matron. That was Tahira last year. But just before I go to the two guys, there was a bit of chat earlier in the week. I know they fancied Jancis. We heard from Billy Lee when he was speaking to Fran Berry at Galway earlier this week about the two William McCreary runners here, the other one being Vespertilio, two high-class fillies, and here's what he thought of the two of them.
She's not over big, and you know that, but she's one that doesn't show you a lot at home, so she surprised us the first day, but she was very good the second day, and we still really don't know about her because she just wouldn't show you that huge amount at home, but she's gone to the track, she's proved it.
And of course, Vespertillo, maybe running around the bend could suit her style of race very well.
Yeah, just for some reason she ran well in the French Guineas, and she just didn't come back from that run, and all year she looked, I wouldn't say she looked bad, she just looked a little bit down, so a bit empty, but Willie's given her time now, and she's back in her order this morning, and she looks great and she felt great, so hopefully a big running on the cards.
That first comment was applying to Jancis there, I should have mentioned. And just to throw over to you, Johnny, I mean, given the prices, I think we were talking 7 or 8 to 1 Jancis and 25 is Vespertilio, I think, a week ago in the anti-post shake-up. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised were you when you saw the jockey bookings this morning that Billy Lee didn't ride the lesser priced one, I should say?
I'm surprised. I suppose I hadn't actually heard that interview with Fran. On the back of that, maybe slightly reassured, because I have given Jancis as kind of my bet of the day. You have to say the jockey bookings are definitely a worry, like, because Vespertillo has obviously essentially no chance of beating Fallen Angel on form. So as a consequence, Jancis hasn't really much of a chance in this race. And with that turn of foot that Jancis clearly has, I'm just going to go with her. Captivating race, but like, I'm not going to lie, obviously the jockey bookings will be a concern, Mark.
Okay, and Donn, briefly in a word, you're still keeping the faith with Jancis?
Yeah, like I was, heard that Billy Lee might be riding Vespertilio, and I was disappointed. The last day back at Leopardstown, like, she did something similar. They didn't go a great pace. She was held up out the back. Billy Lee delivered her down the near side, and she showed a turn of foot that was just so impressive. And I know she's stepping up a furlong and trip up to a mile now, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. She's going to drift, I'd say. She's going to be a bigger price than she is now. But I still think that she's got a massive chance. And again, fast pace, held up in behind, Matron Stakes. Declan McDonough, top class rider. Wouldn't worry about that. The only negative about that is that Billy Lee has chosen to ride the other filly. Okay,
so I know the two lads, their best bet on Saturday, both nominated Jancis, so big vote for her claims. What about you, Melissa? What's the best bet on Saturday?
We'll have to take them on, unfortunately, with Ylang Ylang. Hopefully she'll get a nice positive ride and bounce back to form on ground that should suit, and back at the mile. She should show her true colours, I hope, anyway.
Division in the camp. We'll have to revisit this on the next episode to see who is the bragging rights when we return. I'm going to keep it safe and stay away from the Matron battleground. I'm going to go for the 4 o'clock at the Tony Bet Stakes, 1.5 miles. And I'm looking forward to seeing Klondike there for William Haggis. Winner last time out in France, did it really nicely. And a horse that definitely stays well, which you obviously like at Leopardstown. I like a forward runner as well. He'll be racing prominent. I have got caught out in this race in the past with hold-up horses. And I think this race, Al-Azi last season, and a lucky loser for William Haggis in it, could just see Klondike as a gradual improver, bred to get better with time. I think he'll take a bit of beating. Hopefully continues a good day for Tom Marquand if you're following that rider there. But that about does it for Saturday for us here. Thanks for joining us so far on The Wire. Stick with us. Our Boy Sports partners will be back again for the second part, which is the Curragh. Thanks for sticking with us and on The Wire, ready for part 2, our 4 Group 1s to discuss at the Curragh on Sunday. And just a reminder, you get best odds guaranteed for every race at the Irish Champions Festival with our partners, Boy Sports. There's also an online offer as well for Irish Champions Festival, where customers get their money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second during any race at the Irish Champions Festival at Boy Sports, provided there are 5 or more runners. Full terms and conditions apply. But ready to rock and roll for Sunday. Our first of the Group 1s is the Flying 5 Stakes. Yes, the Bar 1 Racing Flying 5 Stakes. That's the first Group 1 to kick off with, and we have a real British feel to this race. I think last year there was the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th nearly all came from Britain. We had Moss Tucker fly the flag for the home team. He's an outsider this time around, but Believing in Bradsell, 2 Nunthorpe horses who were right to the fore there. I'll throw it over to you first, Johnny. Any value you can discern for us here at all?
Not really. I go Believing in terms of the top 2 in the market. Bradsell's current form would be a concern, and I think she's possibly she's probably the bet of the short ones at the prices. It's not a race we're getting heavily involved in. I know she's quality is a bit of form fine with her on the basis of the same run behind her, but I just got really good vibes from Jack Davison talking to him at Down Royal. He nearly had a treble at Down Royal Friday, and he's really, really looking forward to running her. She's only a 3-year-old. So she's obviously more progress in her. She's 33-1 going into the race. So 33 is with Boylsworth, well, top price. So I wouldn't be put off putting a 5 each way on her. I don't know why we never seem to have sprinters in Ireland. Don mentioned those horses we had. Maybe we don't breed sprinters, but we don't have a strong kind of a team at the moment. But she's quality, and with the saver on Believing for me.
33-1. We're not going to fall out with you over that, Johnny. Melissa, what about you? Can you steer the ship in the way to start off the Group 1 winner on Sunday?
Yeah, we're coming over for another one here, aren't we, with Believing in Bradsell, obviously on their Nunthorpe form, which it does set the standard and it is excellent. As we see here, Bradsell obviously running alongside Pontos. They hit 43 miles an hour in the early stages of this, and then Bradsell had the race sewn up a long way out. You think he's going to go away and win by a couple of lengths, but he had to be kept up to his work in the closing stages, as Believing made an absolute mountain of ground up in the closing stages, flying at the finish she was. And of course, she's been over to Ireland once this season, beating Beautiful Diamond and Makarova. So we know she travels well. You could say the same for Bradsell, of course, because he's won in France earlier in the season. But the way she made up the ground here at York, as Donn said about the track bias, it was an issue at York. But Believing, she's such a hardy customer, isn't she? The one risk you do take is obviously she's out the back early and then she comes home flying at the finish. So whether the post sort of comes quickly enough for her, but she's an admirable character and really does try her best to close down that low head carriage, like trying her best. But looking at some of the bigger price contenders, of course, we saw in the Sprint Cup last weekend, Montasib won that. There's the potential for an upset, and I quite like the chances really of Washington Heights, who did run in the Nunthorpe there, was in the centre group, so obviously not as well drawn as Bradsell. He travelled with absolute 100% zest in the Jubilee at Royal Ascot, and he hasn't had very few tries at 5 furlongs. I'll be willing to forgive him the Nunthorpe for those reasons outlined, and hopefully he can put up a bold show if they do decide to travel over. His Abernant form's strong, and I just thought, I think he's around the 20-1 mark. I just thought in this division it's it can be a bit hit and miss outside the obvious contenders, that he was a value each way play.
So basically, the home team here can go for a cup of tea, according to the guys here. We're completely in trouble here. Hopefully, though, we might have more to shout about in the Migler Stud Stakes, the Group 1 at 3:35. Always a brilliant pointer towards proper fillies for the following season in a Group 1 in its own right. And Bedtime Story, she's, I think I'm right in saying, broke the record for the shortest price stakes winner in Ireland this season on her last 2 starts at 1-16. I believe Aidan O'Brien's shortest price winner ever as well in those victories. But she'll be a little bit better price here, albeit she'll still be odds on. But extremely impressive in the Chesham, albeit last time in the debutante didn't blow everybody away. But probably going to take an awful lot of beating here again, to say the least. Albeit Ger Lyons, he has had some serious 2-year-olds this season. Won the Phoenix of Babouche, and Red Letter is a really exciting one for Juddmonte again. You'd have to be very taken by how she bolted up in the maiden at the Curragh last time. And Colin Keane, he filled us in on her progress head into it. Just get the feeling they have a glint in their eye with this one.
She's been training well. The boss gave her a little bit of a break after she won. She's a big rangy filly, but look, everything she does at home it's very exciting. It always feels like it's easy to her at home. Obviously, it's a massive step up from a maiden up to a Group 1 company, but I'd say it could be her last run this year, and we're all about next year. But everyone thought it was worth taking a go at with her.
Well, Red Letter for me is the value. I'm with Red Letter. I know they love her, and for me, Bedtime Story is too short. She's priced on her second run, not her other 3.
Very interesting. Donn, I mean, we're looking at this here. Bedtime Story didn't impress everybody last time, but I was at the car that day, spoke to Aidan O'Brien afterwards, and in the huddle he did mention, this was a stepping stone towards the Migler, and to be able to win Group 3s, Group 2 without looking like you're a concert pitch it's still a hell of an engine. And she's a 3-part sister to Content. She should be staying further next season too.
Yeah, exactly. She's got like brilliant breeding. Got Frankel on the sire side, obviously, and Mecca's Angel, a Nunthorpe, I think a dual Nunthorpe winner is her dam. So she's got pace and stamina. It wouldn't be surprising at all to see her go forward again from her win in the debutante. Now, again, Red Letter, she's such a talented filly and really exciting filly. She's probably going to have to go forward again if she's going to beat her.
Camp is split on potential versus proven, but maybe we'll have a little bit more unity in the Gough Simpson O'Brien National Stakes, the third Group 1 on Sunday at the Curragh. That's off at 4:10, and Henri Matisse, unbeaten in 3 starts. He's your favourite here. He's going to be pretty short too, but a very interesting supplementary entry this week. I think for €40,000 was Amori City for Charlie Appleby and Godolphin on the back of some pleasing work. I think was the update from Connections there. An Oasis Dream Colt representing Godolphin and Appleby here. We've seen this film before. That was done with Native Trail a few years ago, and he was so impressive here. Same sire, same connections, and very interesting to see him coming back. Coward of the County, he's a proper horse too for Joseph O'Brien, back on track last time in France. And I was very taken by a horse called Hill Road when he won at Leopardstown last time. I spoke to Connections this week, and they seemed to hold him in the highest regard. That was in the Irish field, speaking to Robson Aguiar, and he was very, very sweet in this horse as a prospect for next season. But the fact they're coming here and passing up an opportunity to run a 4-runner Group 2 at Leopardstown on Saturday, that would tell you there are fairly high estimations where this horse could fly. But I'll throw it over to you first, Johnny. Henri Matisse, he did run around slightly last time in front when he hit the front in the Futurity. Any concern to you, or is he one of the shorties you'd like to get stuck into?
Not really concerned. Good knowledge on Oasis Dream there. I was amazed to see this horse. Oasis Dream is 24 now. I do remember him running, but I imagine he won't have that many 2-year-olds left. So that's an interesting angle to the race. Henri Matisse, he's obviously son of Wootton Bassett. That Coolmore have an awful lot of stock. Have put an awful lot of kind of stock in Wootton Bassett, and he did win well the last day. But if you look at the horse that was in behind, Scarty Champ, I'm sorry that I can't say I know exactly the plans for Joseph. He has 2 in the race, Coward of the County, and this lad. The price discrepancy for me is probably a bit mad. Scarty Champ, the problem he's done this both days. He missed the break badly the last day. He definitely missed the break by more than 2 lengths, which he was 2 lengths behind Henri Matisse the line. I know it's not as straightforward as that, but he was badly away. And if he can improve a little bit in that and get into a rhythm and off a stronger pace, when you miss the break in a 4-runner race, and I mean, it's tactical. Obviously, you're kind of you're fighting a bit of a losing battle. That was his first run though between the 17th of May and the 24th of August. So I am presuming that'll definitely bring him on. Now you can get at the moment with the bookmakers for price the race, you can get 3 placed on a Thursday. If I were confident he'd run, I'd love to back him each way because the race is going to cut up a bit. Hayden obviously is going to take out, I'd imagine, 1 or 2 of the runners. And as much as Henri Matisse should confirm the form, it might be as straightforward as that. There are definitely reasons to believe the Scardy Champ, son of Maymas, can improve with experience. And obviously we've the 2-year-old race on at Leopardstown as well, and that can be almost as good as this. And so Aidan can kind of divide his runners a little bit in the 2-year-old Colts division. Cracking renewal of the race all the same.
Don, where do you see it? Henri Matisse, good thing, or take him on?
I think this is a hell of a race, Mark. I'm really looking forward to it. If they stand their ground, I fully agree with Johnny and Scarty Champ. I think he might even be better when he goes out to a mile, but he's a player here. He was slowly away. He was slowly away the time before as well. And if he can get away on terms and nearly on terms, then he could take a good step forward. It was only his second run the last day as well. And back at the Curragh, that was his first run at the Curragh. So I think, if he does take his chance, he's a player. Look, Henri Matisse, he sets a really high standard. He wasn't the favourite of the Aidan O'Brien horses when he won the Railway Stakes. Turnbridge Wells was favourite. Ryan Moore rode Turnbridge Wells when Northern rode Henri Matisse, and he stayed on really well. He shaped that day as if it would be better over 7, and he proved that the last day in the Futurity Stakes when he won easily. So he sets a standard. He's immaculately bred as well by Immortal Verse, a Coronation Stakes winner, a Pre-Jacqueline Marwell winner. So an awful lot to like about him. Almora City, as you said, Mark, a really interesting entry in here. He won the Vintage Stakes at Goodwood really impressively. He had Coolhoof look back in 3rd place that day, Andrew Baldwin's horse, and he went and won the Gym Crack next time. So that form has been really well upheld. And Hill Road, at the prices as they stand, he's the most interesting for me. He's only had 1 run, and this is him here, right on cue. He'd won a barrier trial before that though, so he wasn't an absolute debutant coming on here. But that said, this is really, really impressive. He's gone to the line, or he's gone to the front early enough, and he stayed on really well. The horse back in 4th place there, Trinity College, he went to Galway there on Tuesday and won really impressively. Made all
Well
the
done, Stan, yeah.
no, he was impressive. So that form has been upheld, and also the time of that race. Mutasarraf won the Desmond Stakes later in the day, a Group 3 race for older horses, and the time of Hill Road's race was faster. Now it was run at a good pace, but even so, for a juvenile to clock a faster time than a high class, genuine Group 3 performer over the same course and distance on the same day, to me that was really impressive. And yeah, I can see Hill Road being a big player here.
Very interesting little nugget there from Donn. Melissa, Amori City, how do you think that form stacks up? Does it compare strongly, favorably? How do you rate that in comparison to what we're seeing with the Irish here?
Well, that worked out well, actually, because I'm in the Hill Road camp like Donn. But, Amori City, you've got to respect him, haven't you? The fact that they're making the decision to travel over and take on the Irish. For me, as a punter, it's difficult, isn't it, to quite assess the Godolphin juveniles this season. A little bit in and out. But as you say, he's travelling over, and he must be working very well for them to take this target. And it is a real quality renewal, as you'd expect. Henry Matisse, of course, is unbeaten, and Aidan says that he's a quite a lazy type that takes some winding up. So, of course, those types are the ones you like, aren't they? They got plenty under the bonnet and more improvement to come. So yeah, he's a worthy favourite. But as I touched upon, I'm with Donn. I like Hill Road. The fact that he won that barrier trial gives him that extra edge of experience. I loved his attitude on his racecourse debut, the way he pulled away there that we just saw in the clip. And Adrian Murray, he's an excellent handler, isn't he? I mean, going back to 2016, he'd have sort of 40 runners a year, and now sort of over 100, and people are noticing his talents. Of course, the likes of Valiant Force and Bucanero Fuerte. But Hill Road is a really likeable type. As you said, Mark, he's going for the more difficult target, the Group 1 over the Group 2. And they've had him ready early, and then they've just given him that time backed off him to strengthen up. So I like that campaign, a bit like economics. And I think that he has the raw ability to shake up the shorter price candidates here.
It's all very lonely at the top of the market of poor Henry Matisse. There's no major confidence in the panel here. Maybe to be more of a favourites chance in the Irish St. Ledger, the Comer Group Irish St. Ledger. That's the last of our Group 1s we're going to look at. And what a horse Kyprios has been for connections. He's back again, trying to win a second Irish Ledger in 3 years. Obviously beaten in this race last year off a 344-day layoff, I think, after having a career-threatening and life-threatening injury last season. But he's been back with a bang in 2024. I think he's 4 from 4. Ascot Gold Cup performance was so good, as was Goodwood last time. He's 4-5 at Boyle Sports is your favourite here. But Giavolotto 11-4. Continuous 6-1, has an option in France. Vauban 6-1 too. He still remains in this race too. And Al Karim 12s as well. Kyprios here, he's just had an incredible season given where he's come from. And I thought he was impressive as we've seen him in a long time here in Goodwood. Stretches clear and in a very good time as well on the day. Melissa, is that just good enough to win this? In a word, Kyprios, yes or no?
I love Kyprios, and I find listening to Aidan O'Brien absolutely fascinating, the way that they've managed to bring this horse back from his life-threatening infection, the way he learned to walk again and learned all his paces again. I think it's absolutely fascinating. The work that's gone on behind the scenes with all the team at Coolmore, Ballydall, what a terrific job they've done, and to bring him back to such an elite level. And the horse himself, we must give him great credit for having that mindset to come back. Ryan Moore reported after Goodwood he wasn't particularly in love with the track, which is understandable with the way that obviously the issues that he's had. That the issue for me as a backer of if I was going to support Kyprios is the trip. Of course, we're back down to 1 mile 6 furlongs here, and we can't judge him too harshly on last year's effort because he was on the road to recovery and just making his way back. But I think he faces a really smart rival here in Giavolotto. I've been very impressed with the way he's done things this season. He's been running abroad for a few times behind Aidan's horse Tower of London, and I just think he's thrived since he's come back. He hammered Vauban earlier in the season, and then he's won last time out with ease as well. And the trip's perfect for him. It's been the long-term aim from Marco Botti's team to get him to Ireland. And I just think, the way he's campaigned, that he'll be really at his peak here, travelling over. And he does have that extra bit of pace to handle this trip. And he's on the improve, as I say. And I just think that this could be the time to take Kyprios on. For all that I love the horse and fully admire him. But from a punting perspective, it's got to be another one for Britain, fingers crossed.
Heartless, sentimental, out the window, says Melissa with all the Kyprios fandom there. She wants winners and she wants Giavolotto. Johnny, you in that camp, or can you give us any encouragement for favourite backers looking to maybe stick a couple of them together on the day? Kyprios.
I'm going to be more yes or no here. Absolutely yes. It's mad that they've never run against each other before. Like, it's astounding. Obviously we see other horses here that might be taking them on, and Vauban might have a chance. Kyprios for me is flawless. Aidan keeps saying he could win over a mile and two. He had massive excuse in the race last year. For a horse that goes off short prices, he's nearly always overpriced. If that makes sense. He just wins.
Just wins, Johnny, or Donn, I should say. Just win.
Yeah, I think so, Mark. Yeah, it's not a race for a bet for me. Look, it's great that he's back, Kyprios, and doing what he's doing. He's, trying to get into the kind of Yates type stayer category, which would be great. And he's missed the year, more or less missed the season. And no, great that he's back. And as Melissa says, a mile and 6 is probably at the lower end of the stamina range. For a horse that gets 2.5 miles, there aren't many of them. But no, it's going to be very hard to see him beaten, I think.
For what it's worth, I think that 4 to 5, it'll look pretty generous on the day, potentially. I'm a big Kyprios man in the Irish Ledger too. And the last bit of business for us is to nominate our best bets for Sunday. I'll kick it off here. I think Purple Lily will take plenty of beating in the Blandford. I think Paddy Toomey's only runner this weekend. And form of Irish Oaks run, when you're looking at how you got to me in Content fared again in the Yorkshire Oaks, I think it looks rock solid. I think that 10 furlong trip, that's just what she's crying out for. Proper filly. Hopefully Purple Lily does the business. I'll throw it over to you, Donn. Give us a best bet for Sunday.
I fully agree with you on Purple Lily. I think she was my starting point in the race, but she's very short, and I was surprised that Hanelia was such a big price. Dermot Wells filly, Johnny Murtagh's filly, the Aga Khan filly. I think she, like Purple Lily, I think this 10 furlong trip is probably right for her. I thought she ran really well in the Irish Oaks, probably better than her finishing position suggests. And then last time in the Snow Fairy Stakes over 9 furlongs, she did well to come from the rear and stay on well to get second place behind Terrell. I think she can come forward from that. She's a Naas Oaks trial winner. She won her maiden at the Curragh on Irish Guineas weekend. So yeah, I think Hanelia is overpriced.
Hanelia, I don't like you going against me, Donn. I'd really wish we could arrange this in advance for him. Not having to be put out like that. But thanks very much, Johnny. Nap for Sunday.
I'll go with Wigmore Street on the basis of the trip, presuming he runs. I can't add to what has been said about the race the last day in Rhinemore's ride, but surely looking at it, he wants a mile and 2, in which case the rise won't be a major problem for him. Love those mile and 2 handicaps at the Curragh. So Wigmore Street 5.55, hopefully under RL Moore.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable ride last time. If you haven't got a chance to see it, you'll enjoy watching it back. Melissa, nap for day 2.
Having gone for one for the Irish team a little bit early with Ylang, hopefully Giavolotto can make the honours even in the Irish St Ledger and get the better of Kyprios. Of course, looking at Kyprios's form at the trip, he's beaten Queenstown, the stablemate, and obviously, he faces a decent rival in Giavolotto here. He's absolutely firing at the top of his game. So hopefully he can continue on his travels.
Well, that'll about do it here for On The Wire in association with Boyle Sports. Thanks so much for joining us today and tuning in. My thanks very much to our guests as well, to Johnny Ward, to Donn McClean, to Melissa Jones. Some really enjoyable chat through the last little while. And make sure if you did enjoy it, we'd really appreciate it if you could like, review and subscribe online, because it does make a difference to getting the show out to other people. And that's about all we can say. If you are having a bet this weekend, make sure and do so responsibly. This was On The Wire in association with Boyle Sports. Best of luck.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.